These programs literally help support our law enforcement departments locally, like our NYPD, to train and respond to hate crimes.
Let me see. So we have 5,800 grants, Chairman, that come, Ranking Member, excuse me, that come through my office. 365 have been cut so far. That's approximately 6%. What I will tell you is we have turned back on 13 of those so far because people have reached out to me. If you want to reach out and talk to me directly, I will give you my cell phone. I would love to sit down with you and see if we can work that out. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with those three directly. But again, we will, if you have on either side of the aisle any grants that you believe should be back on.
The
Madam
exchange
Attorney General, I
unfolded
wanted to ask
quietly,
about a
but
topic
the stakes
that's of
behind
great
it were anything
importance
but
to
small.
many Americans
Representative
and
Grace
especially
Meng of
my
New York
constituents, which
pressed
is
Attorney
about
General
hate
Pam
crimes.
Bondi on an issue
I'm
that
really
many
troubled
communities
that
say
your
is
budget
not
proposes to
abstract or
end the grant
political,
programs
but
that may
personal.
help
Hate
prevent
crimes
some
and
of
how
these
the
hate
federal
crimes.
government chooses to
As you may
prevent
know,
them.
I was the author
If
of
you
one of
want
these
reporting that
programs,
breaks
the
down what
community-based
these hearings
approaches
really
to
mean for
advancing
people
justice
outside
program, which was
Washington,
created
take a
in
moment
fiscal
to
year
subscribe so you
2022.
do not miss
This
future
program
coverage.
supported local. Madam Attorney General, I wanted to ask about a topic that's of great importance to many Americans and especially my constituents, which is about hate crimes. I'm really troubled that your budget proposes to end the grant programs that may help prevent some of these hate crimes. As you may know, I was the author of one of these programs, the Community-Based Approaches to Advancing Justice program, which was created in fiscal year 2022. This program supported local groups working to increase hate crimes reporting, give community members resources in languages other than English, and to improve relationships between local law enforcement and the community. It was a direct response to the rise in hate crimes targeting Asian Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic. You may recall in March 2021, 6 women of Asian descent were tragically murdered in Atlanta, Georgia. My Hate Crimes Act passed through Congress in May of that year with bipartisan support, including from several of my colleagues on the other side of the dais. For years, I've been hearing from constituents about how scared they felt and have been hearing from members of these communities as well as experts who've told me that one of the best ways to combat hate in this country is to fund prevention programs. So not just prosecution, but also prevention. I have a letter here that hate crime survivors and family members wrote to you in May, expressing their strongest concerns about the termination of these grants. Signed by people like family members of Emmett Till, James Byrd Jr., Matthew Shepard, and survivors of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the hearing record this letter from these survivors and family members to Attorney General Bondi regarding the termination of hate crimes-related grant programs.
Oh, yes, without objection.
Thank you, Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, I absolutely share your support for our law enforcement and for the prosecution of hate crimes in a just way. But we must combat all forms of hate on all fronts, bringing together law enforcement and community leaders and members of the public. And these grant programs have helped many communities do exactly this. So I just wanted to ask and hear from you why there is a proposal to eliminate the 3 largest sources of DOJ funding for hate crime prevention programs.
Yeah, and Ranking Member, can you list those 3 for me again? And I'm sorry, I have not received your letter yet, but I would welcome working with you on any issue regarding hate crimes in the Asian American community, in any community. I welcome working with you on that.
Okay, yeah, I would love to. And this letter was sent May 15th, and we'll make sure that you and your team have received it. So the programs, one of them, for example, is named the Community-Based Approaches to Advancing Justice. 3 programs have been cut, and one of these programs literally help support our law enforcement departments locally, like our NYPD, to train and respond to hate crimes.
Let me see. So we have 5,800 grants, Chairman, that come, Ranking Member, excuse me, that come through my office. 365 have been cut so far. That's approximately 6%. What I will tell you is we have turned back on 13 of those so far because people have reached out to me. If you want to reach out and talk to me directly, I will give you my cell phone. I would love to sit down with you and see if we can work that out. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with those three directly. But again, we will, if you have on either side of the aisle any grants that you believe should be back on, I would love to meet with you and work with you on that. We're doing that on a case-by-case basis, and law enforcement is my top priority, especially hate crimes, violence against women, everything I've done my entire career as a prosecutor. I think we have a former prosecutor in the room too, and I look forward to working with you on this and seeing what we can do to help you.
Great, we'd love to work together, and we will flag all the programs that have been impacted, including those that directly support our local law enforcement like NYPD. And just to be more specific, the three programs mentioned are community-based approaches, Jabara Hire, No Hate, and Shepherd Bird, No Hate Shepherd Bird. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Meng
Madam
began
Attorney
by
General, I wanted
grounding
to
her
ask about a
questions in her
topic that's of
constituents'
great
lived
importance
experiences.
to many
She said she was
Americans
deeply
and
troubled by
especially
the
my
Justice
constituents,
Department's
which is
proposed
about hate
budget,
crimes.
which would eliminate
I'm
several
really
grant
troubled
programs
that your budget
designed to prevent
proposes to
hate
end the
crimes
grant
before they
programs that
happen.
may help
These were
prevent
not
some of
symbolic
these hate
initiatives,
crimes.
she explained,
As you may
but
know, I was the
community-based
author of one of
programs
these
that helped
programs, the
people report hate
community-based
crimes,
approaches to
access
advancing
resources in
justice
languages
program, which
other
was
than
created
English,
in fiscal
and
year
build trust
2022.
between local law
This program
enforcement and
supported
vulnerable
local
communities.
groups working to
One of
increase
those
hate crimes
programs, Meng
reporting,
noted,
give
was
community
authored by
members
her and created
resources
in fiscal
in
year
languages other than
2022.
English,
It
and to
emerged
improve
directly from the
relationships between
surge in
local
hate
law
crimes against
enforcement and
Asian
the
Americans
community.
during the
It was a direct
COVID-19
response to
pandemic.
the rise in hate
She
crimes
reminded the
targeting
committee of the
Asian Americans
2021
during
murders
the
of 6
COVID-19
women of Asian
pandemic.
descent in
You may
Atlanta,
recall in
a
March
moment that shocked the
2021,
nation
6
and
women of
led
Asian
Congress to
descent were
pass her
tragically
hate
murdered
crimes
in Atlanta,
legislation with
Georgia.
bipartisan
My Hate
support.
Crimes Act passed through
Meng
Congress in
emphasized
May
that
of that year with
prosecution alone
bipartisan
is not
support,
enough.
including from
Experts
several
and
of my
community
colleagues
leaders,
on
she
the other
said,
side of
have
the
consistently
dais.
told her that
For years, I've
prevention
been
is
hearing
one
from
of the most
constituents
effective
about how
ways to
scared they
combat
felt,
hate.
and have
That
been
is why
hearing
she
from
entered into
members
the
of these
record a letter
communities
written
as
to
well as
Attorney General
experts
Bondi
who've told
by
me
hate
that one
crime
of the best
survivors and
ways
family members,
to combat
including
hate in this
relatives of
country
Emmett Till,
is to fund
James Byrd
prevention
Jr.,
programs. So
Matthew
not just
Shepard, and
prosecution,
survivors
but
of the
also
Pittsburgh
prevention.
synagogue shooting.
I have a
Their
letter
message was
here
clear.
that hate crime
Cutting prevention
survivors
funding
and
sends the
family
wrong
members
signal
wrote to
at a
you
dangerous
in May,
time. Bondi
expressing their
responded by
strongest
saying she
concerns about the
welcomed the chance
termination
to
of these
work with
grants.
Meng and
Signed by
acknowledged that
people
she had
like
not
family
yet seen the
members
letter.
of Emmett
She
Till,
asked for
James Byrd
clarification on
Jr.,
which
Matthew
programs were
Shepard,
being
and
referenced
survivors of the
and
Pittsburgh
stressed her
synagogue
willingness to
shooting.
collaborate
I
on
ask
issues
unanimous
affecting the
consent to
Asian
enter
American
into the
community
hearing
and
record
others
this
facing
letter
hate
from these
violence.
survivors and
Meng
family
followed
members
up
to
by
Attorney General
explaining that
Bondi
3 major Department
regarding
of
the
Justice
termination
funding
of hate
streams had been
crimes-related
cut,
grant programs.
including the community-based approaches to advancing justice program. She pointed out that these grants directly support local law enforcement agencies, including the NYPD, by helping them
Chairman.
train officers and
Attorney General
improve
Bondi, I
responses to hate
absolutely
crimes.
share your support
Bondi
for our
offered
law
a broader
enforcement and for
defense
the
of the budget
prosecution
decisions. She
of
said
hate
her
crimes
office
in a just
oversees
way,
roughly
but we must combat
5,800
all forms
grants,
of hate on
and that
all
about
fronts, bringing together
365
law
have been cut
enforcement
so
and
far,
community
roughly
leaders and members
6%.
of the public.
She
And
added that
these grant
13
programs
grants
have
had
helped
already
many
been reinstated
communities,
after
do
lawmakers reached
exactly
out,
this.
and she invited members
So
of
I just
Congress to
wanted to
contact her
ask and hear
directly
from you
to
why
review specific
there is a
cases.
proposal to
She
eliminate
emphasized
the
that
3
law
largest
enforcement,
sources of
particularly
DOJ
hate
funding
crimes
for
and
hate
violence
crime
against
prevention
women,
programs.
remains a top priority for her
Ranking
department.
Member, can you
What
list
made
those
the
3
moment
for me
notable
again?
was
And
not
I'm sorry, I have not
confrontation,
received
but
your letter
tension
yet,
between
but
two
I would
approaches.
welcome
Meng framed
working with
prevention
you
as
on
essential
any
to public
issue
safety
regarding
and
hate
community
crimes,
trust.
in
Bondi
the
framed
Asian American
enforcement
community,
and
in any
case-by-case
community. I
review as
welcome
the
working
best
with
path
you on that.
forward.
Okay, yeah, I
The
would love to.
exchange
And
highlighted
this
a broader
letter
national
was sent May
debate
15th,
about
and we'll
whether
make sure that
fighting
you and your
hate
team
requires more
have
investment
received
up
it.
front or a
So the
narrower focus
programs,
on prosecution
one of them, for
after
example,
harm has already
is
occurred.
named
As hate
the
crimes continue
community-based
to
approaches
rise
to
in many
advancing
parts of the
justice.
country,
3
these
programs
budget decisions
have
carry
been
real
cut, and one of
consequences.
these
The question
programs literally
lawmakers are
help
wrestling with
support
is
our law
not whether hate
enforcement
crimes are
departments
wrong,
locally,
but
like
whether
our
preventing them
NYPD,
is
to
worth
train and
federal
respond to
investment
hate
before
crimes.
lives are shattered. If you want continued coverage that explains how these policy decisions ripple through real communities, be sure to subscribe so you can stay informed as this debate unfolds.